Level up your hunting game and join the cause. Help preserve small-town Texas hunting culture and become a more successful hunter by learning the best ways to squeeze the most out of your budget and precious time out in the field. Welcome to the Feed Bandit podcast. Here are your resident bandits, Richard Kinchlow and Jimmy Byrne.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Feed Bandit podcast. Corn Bandit coming at you live over your computer or phone speaker to you today. Hope you're having a good one. Hope you've gotten out and enjoyed a little bit of that turkey season. Today, we are going to do part two, if you will, or part deux, as they say in old France, I think, of talking Texas turkeys. So again, part two, talking Texas turkeys. And again, kind of the point of these is really just to kind of give you some tips, suggestions, when you're out going to your place to hunt turkeys, or obviously if you've never hunted turkeys before. Again, just some general tips, observations that I have had throughout my illustrious career of 455 years of hunting the wild turkey. I have seen it all. And anyway, so without further ado, let's jump right into it. So today we're going to talk a little bit about location, and we're going to talk about calls. Because there's calls can be kind of tricky, and it seems like different birds like different types of calls, different types of years. Different times during the season. So we'll talk a little bit more in depth about that. And then as far as location is concerned, this is kind of where do you set up? Do you hunt the roost? Do you not? What is a roost? Where to look for a roost? So on and so forth. So I figured those were two pretty good topics. And again, the hope is that you can listen to this and then apply it to what you're doing out there at the area where you hunt turkeys. So yeah, again, without further delay here, let's jump into calls and talk about the different turkey calls that are on the market today, and really, in my opinion, which ones work well, and so on and so forth. So again, kind of the theory behind this is that, you're on your way to your land, and, hopefully this will give you some tips. First and foremost, I suggest having one of every call that you can find. Okay. So, again, kind of the different calls we'll talk about, the box call, you have the slate call. They make a wide variety of these, kind of what I kind of like to call like hand calls, where you can, like a little hand squawker, when you just kind of press the stick down and it does the, and then they've got the mouth call, or the gag call, which is the funniest thing on the face of the earth to me. Watching somebody do a mouth call like they've never done it before, and then them gagging, it's hysterical. I love it. It is so funny, and it's always made me just break out laughing. So those are the types of the calls. And of course, you have the wing bone call, and then you've got other calls that are not exactly dedicated to getting a turkey to respond, but finding a turkey. So this kind of goes into more of a gear thing, but it also applies to calls. So in locating a turkey, especially early in the morning, late evening, an owl hooter works. And when you do that, woo, 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 the gobblers will gobble. Owls are notorious for eating baby turkeys, I guess, and they just don't get along. The whole birds of feather flock together, I guess, does not apply to these predator and prey species. So yeah, put that in your pipe and smoke it. They've also got the crow call. Okay, so the crow call, crows and baby turkeys, I guess, again, don't get along as well. And sometimes gobblers will respond to crows. So there's a little tipperoo for you if you're hunting in an area where you've got crows or ravens or whatnot. You hear them, doing what they do. They're cawing, I guess you could say. And be listening, and kind of train yourself to listen for those listen for those gobbles because that'll definitely let go. That will definitely pinpoint where a turkey is. And I've often found a little bit later in the season when the gobblers are real good and worked up, they'll gobble at a car horn or a door slamming. So they'll definitely gobble at a crow call. So be listening for those. Uh, but back to the actual turkey calls and kind of what they use. Again, point of this: you're on your way to your place, you're about to go to your place, and again, like I say, I think you've always got to have one of each. You got to try one of each because it seems like different birds, different part of the states prefer something a little bit different. For example, growing up, I hunted in Throckmorton. That's where I kind of cut my teeth on wild turkey. Didn't have a lot of wild turkey either. So, seeing one was just, I mean, I'll never forget it. It was really kind of a treasured thing. And boy, to be able to harvest one, it's unbelievable. But Rancho Bandito, we're covered of them. They're like grasshoppers in the summer. There's billions of them. And it still doesn't diminish their value, but seeing them, it's like, hey, look, another turkey. But the turkeys in Throckmorton, Texas, on the lease that we hunted, they responded almost exclusively, I felt like, to mouth calls. Okay, and so that's awesome because I know how to use a mouth call. Yes, I went through the whole gag thing, and that was funny. Still laugh. But my father did something very, very smart, and I still actually have my original mouth call, which I think my dad probably let me use one maybe when I was like fourth grade, something of that nature. So what he did was genius. He took a pair of scissors and he cut it down for me. So I remember trying it, and it would kind of tickle the back of the roof of my mouth, and I dry heave. Again, it's funny, but we got a pair of scissors and cut that thing down. And of course, he gave me the whole lecture. Son, you swallow this thing, you're dead. But that really worked. I learned how to call turkeys from a young age with a mouth call. I prefer a mouth call if I can because, well, obviously your hands free. So when that bird is coming in, you're holding up that shotgun, you're on your butt, okay, and not using a slate call is that's really nice when you get a bird working in. So. But that being said, the mouth calls are not all that popular at Rancho Bandito. In fact, the slate call seems to be the call of choice. Of course, that one being the more difficult of the calls, in my opinion, because if it gets wet, it kind of screws things up. Now that they are making slate calls now that they are impervious to water, and then what striker do you use? What if you lose your striker? Oh my God, there's a million different things. I prefer. I've just got a Quaker Boy slate. Had it for 1,000 years. Got a great sweet spot. I've got a little Brillo pad that came with it. Before each hunt, I'll just give it just a quick light little scrape, and that kind of gets the friction going because obviously that's what it is, a friction call. My striker is a wood striker. They make metal, they make all kinds of stuff, and I've tried them. I've never liked the sound. I get the best results from this. Like I bought a striker variety kit because I lost my damn striker out there in the field, which when you rely on a slate call is a lot of trouble. So there's another tip for you. Carry a second striker with you because you're going to lose one and it's aggravating as hell. But yeah, so the turkeys at Rancho Bandito, they really prefer that slate call. So again, having one of everything is important. Now, if you're sitting here driving to your property right now and you're thinking to yourself, damn, I didn't know if they made another turkey call, or what, maybe this is the reason why I'm not getting any responses ever is because maybe it's my call. Well, hey, guess what? You're A, you're not alone, and B, you got plenty of time. Stop at your local feed store there in the small town near you, and pick up what you need. Guarantee you they've got anything that you have left in the big city. The small towns have got it, and that is exactly what they're there for. So skip the big box store and go get you some gear at your local feed store, small town store. Again, we'll talk about the different calls and kind of when I like to use them. Again, a lot of it depends on your location and what the birds are used to. I think I think a big thing for hunting, especially for kids and for new beginners, is a call that's easy to use. And the box call is by far, in a way, the easiest call to use. So the box call, I don't think it sounds the best. Um, and so I don't think it sounds the best. I don't think it sounds the sweetest, but it is the easiest to use. And if you can use it well, I mean, it's a really great call. The other thing that I love about the box call, and the reason why I carry one, I hardly ever use it, but on those super windy days, okay, when you're wanting to get a gobbler's attention, there is nothing better than a box call. A box call will project that sound out there, and it is incredibly loud. The birds will hear it, they will respond, and it is you typically get good results. So again, if you don't have a box call, pull off at your local feed store, go pick one up. They are great for kids. Of course, don't let your kids screw around with them while you're hunting, because again, when you second you hit that call, if it sounds even something different, or it sounds like even remotely like a turkey, they are going to come to you. That being the case, we'll move on to the slate call. Again, the slate call, more difficult. Okay, you got to get the right angle. I like the sound. Sounds better. It's easier for me personally to do a lot of the calls, the yelp, the cluck, the kind of the purr, especially. The purr is a call that I use. It literally just goes, and it's kind of tough to show you. Maybe I'll do a video of me actually doing a purr call, or you can actually see it on YouTube. But the purr call is kind of my closing call. Okay. I found that if I got a gobbler who's hung up, if I do that purr, man, that gets their attention. They're like, hey, yes, sir. I got myself a young lady who we want to make acquaintances with. So, the slate call is great. Again, some of the cons with the slate call, you lose your striker. You're in bad shape. If it rains, you can be in bad shape too, or even sweat, or just any water in your hands can definitely screw things up. I'd say the biggest down part about a slate call is that if you're hunting in an area and you're not in very good position, meaning where you're situated in your setup, working a slate call on your, for me, on my left thigh with my left hand while I'm holding my gun is very difficult. So that makes it difficult. That being said, there have been a lot of times where I'm sitting there hunting turkeys. I'll start out with my slate call and, to really get them going. And then I will try to finish them with my mouth call, especially if I'm in an area where, I don't have a lot of cover. I'm up against the base of a tree, but I really don't have a lot of room to move my hands without getting nailed. I'll have a mouth call in my mouth, and I'll just try to finish them with a couple of small little clucks and pucks and things of that nature. So, again, these calls are definitely meant for, for different birds and different situations. But again, they can all be effective, and who knows? You may be in a scenario where your birds answer to nothing but a slate call, or maybe your birds will answer to a slate call early on, and then they like the box call later. You've really got to kind of experiment and see what's going on with you, with your area. I think probably the biggest mistake a lot of folks make when they're out there, they're calling, is it's just not sounding realistic. Okay. I mean, it's very similar to duck hunting. I mean, have you ever heard a duck that's constantly wah, 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 wah? No, you don't, unless the duck is got some sort of chronic wasting duck disease that hadn't been invented yet. It's going to destroy duck hunting. You're not just going to see some, jerk mallard out there just quacking his guts out. You got to be realistic. That being the case, you're not going to see a hen out there, sitting there doing a turkey call for 5 minutes. For example, I've heard some people, they'll do a turkey call like this for a yelp. They'll go, and they do it way too long. The turkey's going to suffocate. It's got to be able to breathe. So you gotta act like a turkey. You got to act like a hen. That being the case, I've seen some hens that will go, and then they'll, I've seen them, but you're not, you don't want to sit there and just go to town on a slate call, okay, and do it for 10 minutes straight. It's not realistic. The other thing is you don't want to overcall, okay, and especially with the mouth call and with the slate call. You hit one wrong tune and that gobbler's hung up or that gobbler is suspicious. Guess what? He's out of there. So again, kind of with duck hunting, I'd say the less the better. In my opinion, something that I like to do is, and I don't know if there's any truth to this or not, but it's just something that I feel. I feel, especially early in the season, that, or early to mid season, I feel like if I sit there and if I see a gobbler, okay, and say he's 500 yards away, he's got a couple of hens with him, okay, and I got my decoy, I'm in great shape. I know that gobbler can hear me. I know he can hear me. I know he can see me. I feel like if I sit there and just lay it on him, right, I'm just calling, he will sit there and attend to that live hen and will not pay any attention to me because he knows he can see me. He knows he can hear me. So, and you would think, okay, well, that's what you want, right? Yeah. I mean, you want to keep his attention, but I'm telling you, kind of a trick that I've used, again, when they hang up or they're with hens, is just shut up. Stop calling. And you'd be surprised. It's almost like they become concerned, and they want to come over and check it out. It's worked with me a lot of the time. I'd say more often than not, if I've got a gobbler who's henned up or he's with hens and I start going crazy on the call, he's not, again, he's going to walk away because he's got a live hen. So it sounds like it's kind of crazy. It doesn't make a lot of sense, but give it a shot. See if it works for you. So that is, again, kind of just some tips and tricks, I think, with the calls. Give it a shot, see what you think, and try them all. For God's sakes, try them all. Especially, if you've been out there and you hadn't had any luck, try something else. I remember my first couple of years at Rancho Bandito, both my father and I, again, coming from the mouth call, the mouth call side of things. We were sitting there wearing them out with those mouth calls, and then we had tons of turkey, and we just weren't getting a lot of reaction. I mean, some would gobble, some would come in, but it wasn't like we were used to. Switch the slate call, and look what happened. So that's kind of a real life scenario there for you. Okay, location. Boy, location's huge. And when we talk about location, this is where to set up, where to find turkeys. There are some folks that maybe you're a first time turkey hunter, or you've been out there deer hunting and, you've seen these turkeys and you want to give them a shot. Obviously I encourage you to do so. They taste great. And we'll talk about recipes a little bit later on here in the podcast in the coming weeks of the season. But, location, what do the turkeys do? Where do they go? Well, first of all, turkeys roost in trees. Okay. And they prefer to roost in large trees over running water. Okay. Don't really know why, but that's what they like to do. If they can't find running water, well, they'll be above a dry creek bed. If they don't have a dry creek bed, I've seen them just roost in big oak trees. Okay. If they don't have that, I've seen them on telephone poles, telephone wire out there in West Texas. So they will definitely find a spot to roost. And if you're a turkey hunter and you're trying to figure out, where are these birds? Well, go look for your tree. Go look for big trees, really, again, over water, and listen for them. You don't have to actually sing them. You can hear them and they'll be up there. And that's going to be their roost. Okay. So that's obviously where they're going to assemble and fly up at night, and then they'll fly down in the morning. Okay. A lot of people, hunt the roost. Do I ever hunt the roost? No, I don't. Because nothing pisses me off than a lot of action earlier in the morning, right? I mean, I don't want to be woken up and to have the crap scared out of me. So I kind of think of it the same way of the turkeys too. I do not hunt roosts. I never have. I suspect if it was the last day of a hunt on a $10 billion hunt going after the rare unicorn turkey, would I hunt the roost? Yeah, I probably would, but generally speaking, I won't. And the reason why is, it's just, I'm not saying it's not fair, okay, but it's kind of an ambush tactic. It's like sitting by a feeder, right? And again, which is not, I'm not against it, especially with kids. It's a great spot to shoot a turkey is buy a corn feeder where they're going to be in there, okay, and the hens are going to come in there maybe and feed. The gobblers are going to be there looking for hens, so it's a great place set up. And a lot of people hunt by the roost. I just don't, okay. But again, that is me. Yeah, but the roost is one spot. Again, we just talked about another places around your corn feeders. Okay, these corn feeders, or even protein feeders, are good spots. Great places to set up pop-up blinds, especially for your kids. One little tip on the pop-up blinds, I've been doing it for seasons now. Okay, with kids, and the pop-up blinds just do not seem to bother the turkeys. They bother the hell out of the deer. The deer can't stand it. And it's just so funny how that works. Their senses are so acute in so many ways that they're very similar, but in other ways they're not similar at all. And when it comes to something be out of place, the deer are all freaking over it. They can't stand it. In fact, this past weekend with my daughter, had a bird coming in again, a young gobbler. I think I talked on last week's show. A young gobbler who came in, and he was startled because a deer snorted. And that was just enough to get him to say, you know what, I think I was going to head to the roost tonight. I'm not going to bother with this. And so, ruined, quote unquote, the hunt for my daughter. But again, nothing wrong with hunting near those, nothing wrong with hunting near those feeders. Going back to calls real quick, I just noticed a little note I had, real quickly. When you make a turkey call, you got to realize that, well, first of all, they hear a hell of a lot better than you do. Second of all, the second you make a call, you are exposing yourself to the turkeys around you, whether it be hens or gobblers. They have heard you, and turkeys are social beings, so they're going to come to you. Okay. So, if you're out there playing cat and mouse and running and gunning, as like we say, you got to be careful, because as you're making calls and progressing, if you can hear a gobbler, chances are that gobbler's coming to you. Now, what else is going to get you are the silent gobblers. Gobblers who are a little suspicious, a little wary. They don't make themselves present because maybe there's another dominant gobbler, or some of those damn jakes that we were talking about. Okay, the ones that'll beat the snot out of you. They'll sneak up on you. So if you're making calls, okay, and moving from cover to cover, you've got to be careful, because again, they're going to see you, and boy, they're gone. Out of there. So, I really prefer when I'm making calls, okay, turkey call, and I like to calculated moves. Okay. You don't want to cross out there in the open in no man's land. You're in trouble. Bring a good pair of binoculars. When I was a kid, I had great eyes. I can see now. My eyes suck, and advantage turkey for sure. So bring some binoculars with you, and that will help you as you're calling and running and gunning, looking for birds. So anyways, that is all we really got for tonight. Again, another short segment, but I hope this is helpful to you all. Again, talking about location and calls. It's turkey hunting's a lot of fun. If you've never tried it before, definitely give it a whirl. Shooting a turkey with a shotgun at close range, phenomenal. A lot of fun. We're going to talk a little bit more about gear next week. Some of the things that, if you're packing up to go hunting turkeys, especially for the first time, some things you really want to bring with you that can make a difference. So we will talk about gear and God knows what else on the next piece. So until then, good luck out there in the turkey woods. Be careful of the snakes. Enjoy yourself. You are facing up against an animal who's incredibly talented, incredibly wild and weary. So good luck to you. And as always, support your local feed store. God knows they need us now. Keep those deer feeders full. The antlers are starting to definitely grow. Seeing some full brow tines now, probably in East Texas, if I had to guess. So it's a good time to be out there in the forest and the woods. Fixing to get hot, folks. So enjoy it. Again, support your local feed store, and we'll see you down the road.
Thanks for listening to the Feed Bandit podcast. If you like what we discuss on the show, be sure to sign up to our email list to get even more killer hunting ideas, tips, tricks, and exclusive deals on innovative hunting gear and services delivered straight to your inbox. Sign up over at feedbandit.com or simply by texting the word bandit to 33777. See you on the next one. And remember, support your local feed store.